Et salut tout le monde, alors aujourd'hui comme promis, on va continuer les Chevaliers de Baphomet et on va aller donc, on va continuer l'Irlande, Lochmarne et on va aller dans la cave du bar. Voilà, donc c'est parti, on continue la partie.
What a dumb place to store a flashlight. A dark cellar. The only way I was going to find anything down there was to feel around.
Ouais, effectivement, on voit absolument rien du tout. Alors.
My hand closed on a long metal rod. I pushed the lever and heard the grating of metal, but nothing appeared to happen.
Alors. Bah, je pense qu'il faut remonter en fait. Ah oui, ça, c'est la plaque d'égout. Enfin, c'est le truc à l'extérieur. C'est pour débloquer la plaque d'égout. Voilà, donc cette fois-ci, théoriquement, je dois pouvoir la soulever, je pense.
I lifted the trap door and an overpowering smell of stale beer rose from the cellar below. I looked down on a stone-tiled floor, way too far to jump.
Oh là là, canne.
Excuse me.
There was a nasty feeling in my guts I usually associated with light opera. It was Khan. What's the problem?
Did you see what happened here a few minutes ago?
What was that?
A man was involved in an unfortunate accident.
I didn't see anything.
What about the boy?
He doesn't know anything either. The kid, well, you know how it is in these rural communities. Not enough genes to go round. I prayed McGuire had the sense to keep his mouth shut. Was the guy hurt bad?
He's been taken care of, but he thinks he dropped a small parcel. You didn't happen to find it, did you?
If I had, I would have taken it to the police.
Of course. Thank you.
Il a une voix bien creepy.
It wasn't my nerves that stopped me jumping. It was my damned legs. They wouldn't move.
Bon, du coup, on va redescendre. Cette fois-ci, la lumière doit être un peu plus importante. On va pouvoir avoir quelque chose dans la cave. Ah ouais!
Then I noticed a flash of light. Something sparkling beneath the open trap door.
La pierre précieuse!
It was Peagram's gem, all right. A large, uncut blue stone. As I held it aloft, I realized the fascination it could command. I guess I was already under its spell.
Did you find it?
What?
Whatever you was looking for.
Yeah. Listen, McGuire. I want you to keep this to yourself.
No problemo. Just chuck us up a crate of lager.
No way. You're not old enough.
We can sell it and make some cash.
Forget it, kid. I couldn't betray Mr. Leary's trust.
I could, for sure. That old misery guts deserves it.
If you want to do me a favor, keep a lookout for that guy in the suit.
Okay. But it'll cost you a packet of chips.
Oh, and shout if you see that Ferrari.
Il essaye de négocier le moindre truc. Bon, alors, on a la pierre précieuse.
It was a couple of paper sacks filled with trash. I searched the trash, but there was nothing useful there. It was a bunch of cleaning materials. I looked among the cleaning materials, but saw nothing I could use. It was an empty carton which had once contained caustic soda. The carton was damp and soggy, useless. It was a rusty faucet. The faucet creaked, coughed, and spewed out a stream of rusty-colored water. I shut off the faucet as tight as I could, but it kept on dripping.
Il y a un truc à faire avec ça, mais je sais pas. Ah,
It was a calendar with a faded photograph of a prize-winning carp.
d'accord, donc rien. Ça, j'imagine que ça
It was
sert
the
plus à
lever
rien.
which locked the trap door.
Ouais.
I tried to pull the lever, but it wouldn't move with the trap door open. It was a large blue gemstone. It was a rectangle of toweling printed with the words, Nagopaline Stout builds body. The slow drip of water barely dampened the towel.
Ah, je savais qu'il y avait un truc avec la serviette. Alors non, il faut rouvrir le robinet du coup. Je sais même plus à quoi ça sert ça.
The faucet creaked, coughed, and spewed out a stream of rusty-colored water. I held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water. I shut off the faucet as tight as I could, but it kept on dripping. The towel was soaked through with water.
Je pense qu'on a fait le tour. Je sais même plus à quoi ça sert d'avoir trempé la serviette, mais je savais qu'il y avait un truc. Je pense que c'est bon là. Normalement, c'est dans pas longtemps oui, la goat, enfin la chèvre, il me semble.
Hey, McGuire.
What do you want to know?
Rien. Ah, si.
What do you make of this, kid?
Hey, that's one of Leary's towels. He'll skin you alive.
That old windbag doesn't scare me. Anyhow, I'm only borrowing it.
You're pretty cool, mister. For an old guy.
Want a closer look at the gem, McGuire?
No, I don't. Jewels is for girls. You'd better hide that, mister. What if the pixie comes back? You'll be in trouble then.
I don't believe in pixies. Underneath that costume is a psychotic killer.
Smart.
Le farfadet malicieux.
What do you think of my flashlight?
It's a torch. That's what we call it on this side of the Atlantic.
See you later, kid.
Okay, mister.
Ah, voilà. Je crois qu'il n'y a que ça ici. Ah non. Ah oui, botte de foin, ouais.
On the back of the cart was a crazily stacked tower of hay bales, leaning precariously against the castle wall.
Get away, you silly nooter! Can't you see the load's unstable?
The farmer's craggy face was set in a mask of aesthetic appreciation. His feet were set in a pair of manure-caked boots. Hi. It's me again.
So I see. What now?
Oh la vache. Allez,
Would you
buzzer.
like to shake my hand?
What is this? I don't do that mail bonding stuff.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, but I wouldn't trust him. His eyes are too close together. He's not a friend of yours, is he?
Oh no, far from it. In fact, I believe it's the face of a killer.
I knew it! Piggy eyes. Can't trust him.
What do you make of this tissue?
That's a sorry sight to wave about in public.
Oh, it's theatrical grease paint.
And that makes it all right, does it? I must remember that next time someone complains about the state of me handkerchief.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
You're a circus clown.
No, but I got this from someone who disguised himself as a clown.
Is that a fact? Why did you do that now?
He's a psychotic killer. I think he may be connected with Peagram's disappearance. Does this tool mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Is it used on sheep?
No, it's for lifting the covers off drains.
Never. How?
Well, the end of the tool fits into the hole in the cover.
They'd slip out. Angles all wrong. You'd never do it.
I have. I did it in Paris. What do you make of this matchbook?
Seems ordinary enough to me.
Do you recognize the name on this card?
I can't read that little writing.
It says Thomas Merlin, Gruber Electronics.
Is that your name, Tommy Merlin?
No, but what a great stage name. It had what my high school hypnosis act had lacked, style and class. For a few seconds, I bathed in spotlights on a thundering tide of applause. Tommy Merlin, hypnotist.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. I just remembered something. Have you any use for this towel?
Whatever gave you that idea? Oh dear me, no.
Maybe not. This is the gem that Peagram found in the castle.
So that's what all the fuss was about. I can't see why myself. why men would fight and steal and kill over a little bauble like that.
Well, it's kind of neat the way it sparkles. Good book?
A book? It's a passport to a world of fantasy and imagination.
Yeah, what's the title?
Creative Shelving for Beginners, the 1978 edition.
Waouh, ça doit être passionnant.
What can you tell me about the castle?
Not much, I'm sorry to say. Most of its history is long forgotten. Ah, but if these old stones could only speak, what stories they'd tell. Stories to make your toes curl and your blood run cold. You know, this castle is said to be over 600 years old.
Who built the castle?
Mad Phelan, the first lord of Lochmarne. Well, I say lord, but actually he was little more than a village chieftain. He built his castle from the remains of the Templar preceptory.
Do you mind if I climb up your haystack to get into the castle?
What? You'd break your stupid neck for sure. Do you think I'd stand by and see your brains dashed out?
I'd be very careful, and I promise not to sue.
You won't get the chance, not while I'm here to stop you.
What's so cool about home improvement?
There's nothing like it. The resinous autumnal aroma of seasoned wood, the rhythmic rasp of the play. Ah, no wonder our Lord came to earth as the son of a humble carpenter. I bet he was a wizard with a chisel and a length or two before.
Surely the portrayal of Christ's adoptive family as humble artisans is a symbolic metaphor.
I don't know about that, but I know they were carpenters. Haven't you read the book?
Well, no. But I have seen The Greatest Story Ever Told, and I don't recall Jesus putting up any shelves. Did you happen to see a red sports car down on the road?
I caught a glimpse of a flash of red on the hill and heard the racket. Sure, it was an awful noise. A sports car, you say?
A Ferrari, to be exact.
A racing car? And what was it doing here? The poor fella must have been lost.
The driver of the Ferrari was involved in an accident.
Is that so?
Yeah, he knocked somebody down outside the bar.
What an idiot! How could a thing like that happen?
He was traveling too fast.
So fast, he ran right under the car?
I mean, the car was traveling too fast.
But you'd have thought the idiot could have heard it coming.
Maybe you know the guy who was hit by the Ferrari. His name is Sean Fitzgerald.
Oh, I know him all right. That's me nephew, the idiot responsible for the stacking of my hay cart. Was he killed by the car?
Oh no, but he has been abducted.
Well, that's a relief now.
Have you seen Professor Peagram?
No, he's packed up and gone.
Do you happen to know where?
Back in England, I suppose.
Do you think Peagram's disappearance is due to the curse?
Look at the facts. He dug up the gem, he disappeared, bingo. It doesn't take a degree in mathematics to work that one out, does it? You don't have to be a smarty Pythagoras with a calculator.
I guess not.
Peagram has run off with the gem.
Ben non, je l'ai, Boulet.
Where was the site of the Templar preceptory?
Right here on Temple Hill. Phelan built right on top of the old wall. It's said that deep beneath these walls there's a Templar chapel.
Did Peagram discover the chapel?
I don't know. His workers were sworn to secrecy.
Aren't you going to look for your nephew?
What for? From what you say, it's too late.
Well, you could report the matter to the police.
Better not. Besides, what could they do?
Well, they could mount a search.
They have only the one bicycle between them. In a question of superior acceleration, I put me money on the Ferrari.
Il adore son
I
neveu.
think you ought to know exactly what Sean has gotten himself into.
I'm not sure I want to know.
But you're his uncle, his own flesh and blood.
You're right, but what can I do? If I'm not here to guard it, some idiot might try to climb the haystack.
Oui,
What
moi.
a moral dilemma.
Moi, je veux monter
Stay
sur le
here
foin.
and guard this potentially lethal agricultural construction. Or to go off in search of the prodigal nephew, the very man responsible for said hazard? It'll need some thinking about.
Why, there's no problem.
You're right. Why didn't I think of it before? We'll demolish the haystack.
You don't have to demolish the haystack to go look for Sean. I'll stay here in your place and warn anyone who's silly enough to climb it.
Marvelous. I think I should start me inquiries in the bar.
Comment se débarrasser du gars, moi. Je vais garder ce tas de foin, ne vous inquiétez
He
pas.
strode off in the direction of McDevitt's bar, leaving me to contemplate the stack of hay.
Alors, on va pouvoir grimper maintenant.
The stack of hay stopped, short of the top of the wall. Even if I stretched as far as I could, the wall was out of reach. What I needed was a slice or two of Alice's Wonderland.
Ok, donc on peut pas.
There was a narrow crack between two of the stones where the centuries-old mortar had crumbled away. I pushed my fingers into the narrow crack. It went back several inches into the rock.
Ah bah la clé, hein. Ça marche. Ouais, c'est ça.
I inserted the end of
marche.
the lifting key in the mortarless crack and gave it a firm shove. It remained lodged in the wall, jutting out to form a step. I tugged at the lifting key and found it was held quite securely.
Ah bah voilà! La fameuse énigme de la chèvre. Culte. Comment se débarrasser de la chèvre? Pas du bouc plutôt, c'est pas une chèvre. Comment se débarrasser du bouc? Alors je sais plus. Donc enfin si, je sais qu'il faut la bloquer, mais bon, bref. Ouais, voilà. Donc elle va tout le temps, il va tout le temps nous saouler. On peut rien faire sans qu'il nous laisse pas passer. Voilà. Alors je sais que c'est tout bête. Mais comment on fait? Je crois qu'il faut...
It was a rusted piece of iron, maybe part of a plow or something.
Je crois qu'il faut le pousser, enfin pendant qu'il nous fait tomber. De toute façon, il n'y a rien d'autre, hein, c'est que ça. Il faut aller là. Donc il faut que je pousse ça, il me fait tomber. Je me relève rapidement, je déplace le truc. Et... Non. Je sais plus.
It was the fiercest, meanest-looking old goat I'd ever laid eyes upon.
C'est pas une chèvre. Mais bon.
Hey, Billy.
Billy the
animal
goat.
fixed on me with an evil glare. Behind the malice and resentment, there was a cool intelligence. How you doing, boy? I felt as threatened as I'd been by the assassin and his goons in Paris.
Tiens, mange. Ah non. Oh, c'est idiot. Je sais qu'il y a quelque chose à faire avec ça.
It was a rusted piece of...
Mais il est trop lent là. Ah, ou alors faut aller d'abord à droite, puis courir vers la gauche, je sais plus. Voilà, c'est ça, c'est ça, c'est ça, c'est ça, c'est ça. Et voilà, t'es
The rope
bloqué.
by which the goat was tethered had become tangled on the old plowshare.
Un succès, la chèvre. Bon, ça c'était une étape obligée, hein. Il y avait forcément un succès, c'était sûr.
It was a rusted... No way was I going near that old goat. Hey, Billy. The goat responded with a cool and penetrating stare.
Les cinématiques aussi, elles passent bien. Bon, c'est un côté un peu animation flash des fois, mais elles passent bien. Qu'est-ce que ça donne d'ailleurs avant? Ah, c'est beaucoup plus lumineux. Il joue beaucoup sur la lumière dans le remake en fait. Pas plus réaliste. C'est pour ça que ça a un côté peut-être un peu moins dessin animé. Enfin, illustration en fait. C'est plus réaliste, même si ça reste de l'illustration.
There was a pattern of 5 holes arranged on the wall. They'd been drilled there deliberately. Behind the altar was a carved panel decorated with animals, birds, and plants. It was a statue which had fallen from its place on the wall, 5 fingers of stone projected from the back of the carving. The bench had probably been used by Peagram and his archaeological team. The only object on the table which interested me was a small sack. The sack contained a fine white powder.
Ah oui,
As I
c'est le truc du
dipped my
plâtre.
fingers into the soft white powder, I realized what it was. Plaster of Paris. I'd used it in kindergarten, to make casts of animal paw prints.
Ouais, en fait, va falloir utiliser ça, je crois, avec le plâtre pour faire un moule. Enfin, ça sert de moule.
The statue was too heavy to lift. It overbalanced into the sand. The statue lay face up in the soft sand. As I swung the stone upright, I noticed it had left a pattern of holes in the sand.
Du coup, c'est là qu'on va mettre le
The
plâtre.
5 fingers on the back of the statue had left their impressions in the fine sand. I sprinkled the plaster on the sand until the holes were filled.
Ah, il manque quelque chose.
I smoothed the plaster level with the sand. It was my first experience of home improvement.
Ah. Ah, bah si, oui, je suis bête. De l'eau. C'est la serviette. Ah oui, c'est pour ça qu'on l'avait mouillé. Bon. Enfin, le tapis de bar. Hop, on va mouiller le plâtre et ensuite on va faire tomber la statue dessus.
I squeezed the towel as hard as I could, but it was barely damp.
Bah, j'espère que ça va suffire. Ah non, ça suffit pas. Faut que je retourne. Je crois qu'il faut que je remouille la serviette en fait. Sinon, ça marchera pas. Sinon, ça marchera pas, je pense. De toute façon, le bouclier est coincé maintenant, donc je crains rien. Je vais faire vite fait ça. Je vais à la serviette. Je vais à la. N'importe quoi. Je vais au robinet vite fait remouiller ma serviette et hop. Parce que je pense que c'est à cause de ça.
The faucet creaked.
Et
I
voilà.
held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water. I shut off the faucet.
Maintenant, faut faire vite puisque tout à l'heure j'ai traîné. Bah, forcément, j'ai parlé avec le gars pendant 3 plombes aussi. Donc c'est un peu normal. Là, ça va le faire. Oh là, c'est pas trop. C'est très respectueux là, la différence. Mais c'est vrai qu'on voit, c'est plus. Le foin, là, a vraiment un... C'est pas moche, en fait, hein. Malgré l'affichage en 4K, enfin, c'est pas du vrai 4K, évidemment, mais de l'image originale, je trouve que c'est... Je me demande s'ils ont pas lissé, quand même, un petit peu, parce que là, quand même quand même une différence, évidemment. C'est vachement plus fin, mais c'est quand même, bon, plutôt pas mal, en l'original. Ça passe très bien, l'échelle, tout ça, ça passe bien. Allez, cette fois-ci ça va marcher. Enfin, j'espère. Ouais.
I squeezed the towel as hard as I could, but it was barely damp.
Quoi? Mais non. Mais c'est une blague. Bah, attends, comment je peux...
I smoothed the plaster.
Mais non. Oh.
I placed my fingers and thumb into the holes in the wall. Nothing happened. I tried in vain to move the panel.
Je peux pas le récupérer, là?
I smoothed the plaster level with...
Ah! Ah, bah non.
I smoothed the...
Merde. Comment on peut faire? Attends, je comprends pas. J'ai mis le plâtre, j'ai mis la serviette. Je vois pas ce que je peux faire de plus. Ah, il le remet?
I squeezed the towel. I smoothed the plaster.
Je comprends pas, là.
I reached into the sack, but it was empty. The only object on the table which interested me was a small sack. It was a statue which had fallen from its place on the wall. 5 fingers of stone projected. The patch of sand where the statue had fallen was covered with a dense sprinkling of plaster.
Ah, mais on l'a, en fait. Attends, j'ai rien compris. Attends.
It was a handful of plaster left in the castle by Peagram's archaeology team.
Ah, mais non, c'est pas fait pour... Attends, je comprends plus rien.
The holes were already full of plaster.
Normalement, je devrais pouvoir le récupérer, donc il y a un truc que j'ai pas fait. Je sais pas.
I smoothed the plaster. The towel had dried out and was barely damp.
Bon, on va réessayer, mais j'y crois pas trop.
The faucet I held the
Allez, maintenant on refonce. Ah, bah voilà.
The trickle of water was quickly absorbed by the plaster.
Ah, donc je sais pas ce que j'avais fait, ou alors j'étais pas allé assez. Pourtant je suis allé vite tout à l'heure. Mais bon, bref. C'est pas grave. Au moins ça marche. Voilà.
I eased the solid piece of plaster from the sand. Underneath, it had formed a perfect copy of the statue. The hardened plaster cast fitted snugly into the 5 matching sockets. There was a soft thud, then silence.
Oh, la porte s'ouvre. Parfait. Sympa la cinématique. Mon faucon. Ah voilà, c'était l'indice pour aller revenir à Paris à l'église de Montfaucon.
So, where did you stay last night?
At McDevitt's, I got to drinking with Doyle and a couple of the guys.
That explains why you look so ill today. Did you get any sleep at all?
Not much. I had to share the room with another guy.
Did he snore?
Hardly. He was dead. Then Leary woke me in the middle of the night to help bail out the cellar.
The cellar was flooded?
Yeah, some idiot had left the faucet running,
And you say Peagram has disappeared?
without a trace. But my visit wasn't a complete waste of time.
Peagram's gem?
The Templars' gem. Whoever Jacques Marquet is, he's in for a disappointment.
Jacques Marquet?
He's the guy who should have collected the gem from Fitzgerald.
What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Maleficent was. All I've got to go by is the
Maleficent.
name and a picture of a hanged man.
Moi, à l'origine, enfin à l'époque où il était sorti, je l'avais fait en français, enfin en VF. Et je me rappelle plus en fait. Bon, c'était sûr, c'est sûr et certain qu'il disait mon faucon, mais c'est marrant en VO, il disait mon faucon.
Hey, Nico, shake hands with me.
No chance, Buster.
Look, Nico, a handful of plaster.
Yeah. Why is it that men never really grow up?
What's your problem, sister?
Your pockets stuffed with useless junk like little boys.
You never know when useless junk might come in handy.
Mais oui, on sait jamais, ça peut toujours servir. De toute façon, dans tous les point and click, on récupère tout un tas d'objets complètement inutiles, mais tellement indispensables.
Do you want to look after the gem?
No, Josh. I'd be too tempted to sell it.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. That's the gem that Peagram found in Lochmarne. That's the tripod in the crew museum.
Oui, c'est vrai maintenant il y a un journal, il y a tous les dialogues. On peut remonter jusqu'où? De retour chez Nico. Ah oui, c'est à chaque début de chapitre, quoi, j'imagine. Et on remarque que c'est pas mal, ça permet de revoir au cas où si on a loupé quelque chose ou si on veut revoir pour un détail qu'on a zappé, c'est pas mal.
I can't sit here all day, much as I'd like to.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lobinor at the Kron Museum. And why don't you see if Rosso has heard anything?
Okay. Anything else I can do for you while I'm out? Shopping, a trip to the laundromat?
Just take care of yourself.
Merci, c'est gentil. Bon, du coup, poste de police, musée Krun. Et là, c'est marrant parce que, en fait, alors c'est dommage qu'ils aient pas intégré ça ou qu'ils aient pas permis de choisir au démarrage du jeu, par exemple. Oh, un succès. Récupérer un artefact ancien au château de Lochmarne. Ouais, c'est le joyau de Peagram. Oui, qu'ils aient pas permis de choisir au démarrage du jeu ou pendant le jeu, ou encore mieux, les passages du Director's Cut qui incluaient, enfin c'était des passages exclusifs au Director's Cut avec Nico, enfin où on pouvait diriger Nico, et donc il y avait des ajouts, des sections complètement nouvelles qui étaient ajoutées. Il y en avait au moins, bah là c'est la deuxième, parce que normalement à ce moment-là on devait diriger Nico juste avant. Donc il doit y en avoir au moins deux, voire trois. Et c'est dommage qu'ils aient pas donné le choix, par exemple, au démarrage du jeu, faire la version complètement originale ou pas. Bon bah Rosso d'abord et puis ensuite on ira voir Lobino.
Excuse me,
What do you want now?
have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic in the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
Je visualise le mec qui creuse dans les jardins des gens.
Hmm,
C'est
maybe
complètement
not.
débile.
Maybe not.
Ouais, t'as raison, vaut mieux pas lui montrer un joyau qu'on a volé.
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo.
Allez, dépêche-toi.
How may I help you, Doctor?
Have you heard of Professor Peagram, the archaeologist?
Molly Peagram, the second son of Lord Barclay Peagram?
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland.
Je crois qu'il parle pas de la même personne.
Do you know Peagram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet. I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
What do you make of this, Inspector?
Astounding. Where did you come by a stone like that?
I was given it by a man in a bar in Ireland. Do you recognize the gem?
It is unfamiliar to me. If such a jewel had been stolen, I would know it for sure.
What do you make of this white powder, Rosso?
It is plaster.
Say,
Bravo.
you're good.
Bon.
What do you make
Ah
of
mince.
it? Say,
Du
So long,
coup,
Inspector.
on va aller voir l'Obino. Ah, mais oui, il y a l'hôpital aussi. Mais du coup, on va aller voir d'abord au musée. Je sais pas si on peut voir l'Obino là.
Pardon me. Oui, monsieur? Can I take a closer look at the tripod?
What? Get it out of the case? Ah, no! That tripod is protected by a sophisticated surveillance system.
How sophisticated?
A painfully loud alarm bell.
How is the alarm bell triggered?
By the slightest pressure on or movement of any part of the case wherein that tripod is situated.
It strikes me that to call your alarm system sophisticated is, well, stretching the truth a little.
It has never failed yet. The sophistication is in its simplicity.
You don't know the first thing about those pots, do you?
No, monsieur.
I found this gem at a medieval site in Ireland.
That means nothing to me, monsieur.
How did you manage to get this job?
I had the right qualifications, a military manner, squeaky shoes, and an irrational hatred of children.
Parfait.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Does this... Thanks. He was a thin-faced, pallid guy with a questionable taste in outlandish clothes. My mother used to dress like that.
Bonne description.
I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobineau?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No, I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay, shoot.
I'd like to shake you by the hand, André.
Not now, Georgie.
Oh, il m'appelle déjà Georgie.
Do you recognize this white powder, André?
No.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing.
Take a look at this nose, Lobineau.
It really doesn't interest me, Georgie.
What do you make of this tool?
Interesting. Where did you get it?
From a dig in Paris.
Vraiment? I didn't realize there were any excavations in progress in the city.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Alamut is the name of the place where the Hashashin were based.
Where is it?
Somewhere in what used to be called Persia. I'm not too hot on modern geography, I'm afraid. The most recent map I have shows America as an English colony.
Le lien avec Assassin's Creed est tout trouvé là. Les assassins. J'ai bien choisi mon jeu pour faire le parallèle avec Assassin's Creed que je fais.
What do you make of this ID card?
Nothing.
Do you recognize this white powder, Andre?
No.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Peagram's messenger boy.
Peagram? Professor Nigel Peagram? He's in Irlande, investigating a Templar site, isn't he?
He was, until he disappeared.
Did Peagram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so. You're not one of those crazies who think the Templars still exist, are you?
Well, I try to keep an open mind on the matter.
Complotiste.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was, the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to do with it. He was Philippe's puppet, planted to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July 13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross, that kind of thing.
Well, that must have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flame grilled at the stake. They died protesting their innocence.
But surely Philippe had no proof of his charges against the Templars.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to the victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off. Fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every victim described the idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the inquisiteurs.
En es-tu vraiment sûr?
So Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
Et pourtant... Que d'indices, que d'indices. Bon.
Does the name Maleficent
c'est long
mean
quand même.
anything to you?
Sure, it
Maleficent.
was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Maleficent was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Maleficent in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarne.
C'est marrant, du coup, André aussi dit Montfaucon. En fait, je pense que c'est dans le script original, ils le prononçaient comme ça, et puis ils ont même pas cherché à savoir si ça se prononçait vraiment comme ça. Je pense. Faudrait voir en VF ce qu'ils ont fait.
Where was the site of Maleficent?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah, not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye. Suddenly, this friendly historian had turned into the big bad wolf.
Ah, c'est le début de la rivalité, enfin de la future rivalité entre Georges et André pour Nico.
This friend who has the manuscript,
Ah oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
she lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
Do you know Peagram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Peagram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud. Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Bon, alors du coup, qu'est-ce que je fais moi maintenant?
There was nothing in the urn. No, monsieur. No et no. Okay, okay.
Don't even think of climbing in there, monsieur. You'll be suffocated.
I always wondered how it felt to be a mummy.
Je sais qu'à un moment donné, il faut se cacher là-dedans, mais je sais... Ah! Mais je sais pas si c'est maintenant, en fait. Il faut ouvrir la fenêtre, et pendant qu'il ouvre la fenêtre... Pendant qu'il, lui, il va la fermer, la fenêtre, faut se planquer dans le sarcophage. Mais je sais pas si c'est maintenant. On va essayer pour voir. Faut juste attendre qu'il ferme la fenêtre. Bah voilà. Mais je sais pas si ça va débloquer quelque chose parce que...
This is ridiculous. I could be here for hours.
Ouais. Ah donc ça doit pas être maintenant. On va faire la même chose mais le trépied là pour voir.
As I reached toward the display case, a shrill piping filled the air.
Bon
I
bah mauvaise
froze,
idée.
then tried to get myself together and act nonchalantly.
No, monsieur. No et no.
Okay, okay.
Bon bah en fait il n'y a plus rien à faire. Je pense qu'il faut aller à l'hôpital en fait. Et ça après c'est plus tard. De toute façon il faudra aller voir mon faucon. Mais ça doit pas être pour maintenant. Ah mais il y a mon faucon là. Ah, du coup je sais pas. Peut-être aller à l'hôpital avant quand même.
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions looked like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint.
Ouah, c'est sympa quand même. Tenez à droite. Tenez. Ah oui, ils ont changé. 10. Tenez à droite. Clinique Hagenmeyer. Ouais, bon. Ouah, c'était marrant quoi. Par contre, l'ambulance, elle est énorme. Ça avait un certain charme, la version originale quand même. Là, ils l'ont modernisé, c'est sûr, mais... Enfin, c'est cool de pouvoir faire les deux en fait. Tu peux parfaitement faire le jeu en entier en version comme ça, en version originale, avec les sous-titres comme il faut, les voix, enfin bref, c'est plutôt pas mal quand même, hein. T'as un potentiel de rejouabilité juste pour les visuels qui est sympa.
There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance. I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled. The door was locked.
Ah, le bruit du truc de nettoyage là, c'est celui qui est super chelou, je me rappelle.
The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college.
Ah ouais, là c'est ouais, c'est marrant, globalement c'est beaucoup plus clair parce qu'il y a moins d'effets de lumière en fait, d'ombre. Là ils ont tout refait, bah, même là, ouais, c'est marrant. Non, c'est bien fait.
The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything. Excuse me,
Yes, sir?
is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
Is this plaster any use to you?
I'm allergic to plaster.
Comme par hasard.
What does this gem suggest to you?
I advise you not to flash that around. The hospital insurance wouldn't cover it if it was stolen.
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was
Wow,
on
ça,
ward B12, as I recall.
D'accord, j'espère que
Oh,
j'ai
he's
pas...
being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
Ah non, ça va. J'ai cru que ça allait... En fait, que j'aurais pas eu le temps de parler des autres sujets.
Have you heard of the Club Alamut?
No. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? The kind of place where you get little umbrellas and... well...
Huh? That's romantic? I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
I guess you could use it to baste a roast turkey.
What does this false nose remind you of?
Oh, it's a clown's nose.
That's right.
Why don't you give me a break and go and play with someone else?
Elle est super sympa.
What
elle.
does this tool suggest to you?
Is it a crack detector?
Huh?
Polar explorers use them to poke about in the snow.
No. Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock, alarm pause. 6:10, bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna.
Oh là là.
And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
C'est la maison de fou d'Astérix avec les 12 000 étages, escaliers et machin.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Bon, on va parler aux deux médecins là, et puis je m'arrêterai là.
The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today, he was working on his withering stare. Hi, my name's George Stovard.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
What do you make of this tissue, sir?
Intéressant. I thought I knew the ins and outs of the human body, but this has me beat. If I were you, I'd have this sample analyzed.
Do you recognize this red nose, sir?
No, I do not. This is a hospital, not a circus ring. We minister to the sick in body, not the sick in mind.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
Sacre bleu! That's exactly what I needed in my last operation.
It is?
I had to improvise with a knitting needle and a couple of corks. If only you'd been on hand at the time. My patient would have given his right arm for it.
Il fait flipper son hôpital. Moi, je vais pas me faire opérer chez lui, hein. Et surtout encore moins par lui.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
No, sir, I have not.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, it does not.
Look at this, Doc. It's a genuine medieval-type gemstone.
Yes, so I see. Remarkable.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, sir. I do not pretend to know the pharmacist's job.
Thanks for your help.
Bon, pas très concluant, du coup on va lui parler à lui. Hein.
The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny?
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit.
Waouh, ça commence bien.
Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Is that a nasal discharge, sir?
No, it's grease paint. Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Isn't that used to snap the patient's ribs when exploring the abdomen?
I hope not. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No, sir.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Merlin?
No, sir.
Ouais, il sait rien du tout, lui. C'est un truc de ouf.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No, sir.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Not me, sir.
Ah mais rien de rien. Je sais plus si je lui ai montré lui là.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
See you later.
Right.
Bon, c'était pas très concluant. Du coup, on va aller... je sais pas si ça mène au même endroit, ça d'ailleurs. Bon, on va essayer là. Ah, je vais peut-être pas pouvoir revenir. Donc ça aboutit à rien en fait par là. Ouais, apparemment, faut que j'aille du côté gauche alors.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow.
Ouais, un type bien chelou. Alors comment c'était à l'origine? Ouais. Ils n'ont pas fait exactement pareil, mais bon. Ça passe bien. Ça passe bien. Et les statues, ah oui, même les statues, ils ont changé de... changer de sens en fait. Ouais. Ok. Alors il y a une porte. Bon lui je sais qu'il va falloir que je discute avec lui pendant 3 plombes. Il y a la machine. La fontaine à eau, la prise électrique c'est pour son truc justement pour couper. On peut aller à gauche, on peut aller à droite. Ouais, donc il y a pas mal. Et puis la statue. Ok, bon bah on fait ça vite fait. J'avance un peu là-dessus et puis après j'arrêterai, je vais voir.
The door didn't have a sign or label or any kind of identification.
Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard. Hey, I asked you not to go in there.
I know, but I'm curious.
Oh no, I'm responsible for that cupboard and the contents.
Okay. It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated. There was no way I could improve on the sculpture with the janitor watching me. There was no way I could improve on the... I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors. Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar.
Bon, je vais pas couper tout de suite la prise parce que sinon ça va déclencher
The
d'autres
connector in the
dialogues avec lui,
socket
je pense.
supplied electricity to the polishing machine.
La machine à cirer. Ah, tiens, je vais sauvegarder pendant que j'y suis. Voilà. Je vais aller voir à gauche tout de suite. Pour voir jusqu'où je peux aller. Ah, quelques instants plus tard. Ouais, ça refait comme tout à l'heure. Donc ça sert à rien. Ok. Et à droite, ça va m'amener juste derrière lui, normalement. Ok, donc c'est cohérent. Bah maintenant, faut que je lui parle. Mais j'ai pas le choix.
Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Mais pourquoi tant d'agressivité là tout d'un coup? Il lui a rien fait.
Do you recognize this powder?
Is that dandruff?
No way.
It sure looks like dandruff.
It's plaster.
Ugh.
What do you think of this, Sam?
Oh boy. What is it?
A priceless gemstone found in a medieval castle in Ireland. Get me into Marquet's ward, and it's yours.
I don't wear jewelry.
Do you recognize this pass?
No, I don't. Should I?
No, but I wondered if you'd seen a stranger flashing it about.
No, sir. But if I had, Mr. Shiny would take care of him.
Mr. Shiny.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
You should never ever play with matches.
I know that, but...
People get hurt when they do.
Sure.
You end up in hospital, like the burger lady. She was so burned up, they didn't know whether to use bandages or onions.
Ah mais c'est horrible, Burger Lady. Un grand
Would
brûlé.
this tool be any use to you?
No, sir. Mr. Shiny has no user-serviceable parts. Whatever that means.
Take a look at this red nose.
Are you a policeman?
No, this is a clown's nose, not a policeman's.
Une manière de dire que les policiers sont alcooliques, c'est ça qu'il veut dire?
What does this tissue suggest to you?
You have a cold. What you need is vitamin C and a side order of machine oil.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No,
Would you like to shake my hand?
not until I've washed, if you don't mind, sir. You can pick up all kinds of things in a hospital.
Like nurses, right?
No, sir. Bugs and germs. And fungal infections.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Je savais pas que c'était un hôtel, un hôtel, un hôpital psychiatrique en fait le truc.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
Ça c'est ce que tu crois, je vais
How
bientôt
come you got
couper
so
le courant.
attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
No,
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind my back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mop-foot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is? Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Do you know a nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah, end of the corridor, ward J2.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now.
Voilà, donc normalement je peux pas accéder au placard, donc je vais couper enfin enlever la prise pour que pour qu'il fasse autre chose, enfin pour le distraire.
Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy to...
Ouais, non,
I
j'en ai
mean...
déjà fait ça. Donc la prise électrique, hop. Et voilà. Et
As I
maintenant...
tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Allez, va-t'en. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Va voir le placard. Bah, je peux pas... Ah oui, je peux plus rien faire, faut attendre. Oh. C'est bizarre que je puisse pas aller au placard. Allez, vite, vite, vite. Ah oui, c'est pour prendre une bouse de médecin. Et maintenant, je vais lui reparler, on va voir si s'il réagit. Docteur Stobart.
Dr. Stobart, at your service.
Et on en revient au début, hein. Docteur Stobart, finalement.
Hello.
Oh, hi. No whistling, right?
Right.
Bah non, je peux pas rediscuter. Enfin, je peux pas me faire
Nothing
passer pour le
really.
médecin. Bon, bah c'est pas grave. Bon, si je retourne à gauche, j'imagine que ça va refaire la même chose que tout à l'heure. Ouais, quelques instants plus tard, donc il faut que j'aille à droite. Attends. Comment je peux retourner en arrière alors du coup? Ah voilà. C'était bizarre. Réceptionniste.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Je peux pas...
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Pas parler, alors attends, qu'est-ce qu'il faut que je fasse? Ah oui, il faut que j'aille à droite, du coup, j'imagine, je vais lui parler à lui aussi.
Excuse me, sir.
You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary.
Bah voyons.
I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
Oh mon Dieu.
I'll bet.
Comment on va
Show
faire?
him around. Let him see some real suffering.
So long, Hagenmeyer.
On va se le coltiner tout le temps alors du coup? Non.
Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Forget it.
Ouais, bah en fait il me suit pas, ça sert à rien. Mince, alors attends, qu'est-ce que c'est que ce bazar? Il y a un autre endroit? Peut-être? Ah bah oui d'accord, ça se fait tout seul, bon.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, Doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dr. Stobart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute? Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney.
Putain la vache, les dialogues, ils sont ouf.
Do you know what this piece of equipment is called?
No, I don't.
Do you know what this is?
Is it self-raising flour?
No. Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
Nah, I haven't.
Do you know what this tool is used for?
Eye surgery.
That's a dumb thing to say. It's not sharp enough. Do you recognize this red nose?
Nah, I don't.
Have you any idea what this is?
Please, take it away before I throw up.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nah, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
One of your colleagues?
No, he really is a murderer.
I've never seen him before.
I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy.
Dommage.
Which bed is Marquet in?
Yeah, he's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Bonne question.
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
Ok.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Bon. Je regarde tout le monde. Ah.
The guy was sick. His face was the same shade of gray as the pillow beneath his head. I wondered whether I ought to call the nurse. Maybe check him out for breathing. According to the chart, this guy was called Croquet. The name on the chart was Boissy. The name on the chart was Sopmarsh. Now, I was no doctor, but this guy looked dead to me.
Carrément.
This guy didn't look sick to me. He didn't have spots or stitches, and he certainly didn't have a fever. Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor. It's my job. I'm going to take your blood.
Why?
I'm a doctor. Do you know what this is?
It looks like plaster.
How did you know that?
I'm a plasterer.
Ah, la coïncidence.
Do you know what this is?
It looks like...
How did you know?
Ouais.
I'm a plaster...
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor. Is this some kind of test?
If it was, you would have failed. Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alimut?
I'm not really a nightclub man, Doctor. A game of whist and a glass of ginger wine is about my limit.
I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
Really? He's a dead ringer for my bank manager. Of course, Mr. Soames hasn't got a scar, and he doesn't come from the Middle East. His hair's a lot grayer, too. Otherwise, it's just like him.
Remarkable.
Ouais, en gros, il lui ressemble pas du tout, quoi.
Have you any idea what this is?
No, Doctor. I wouldn't even like to guess.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Doesn't that belong to Boissy?
No. I found it in a sewer.
He's a clown, you know. You wouldn't think so to look at him now, would you?
Do you know what this tool is used for?
I'd rather not, Doctor. Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
Ok. Enfin, c'est clairement pas moi qui vais te faire le diagnostic, hein.
See you later.
Ah, je peux pas lui parler? Bon, bah, comme ça on gagne du temps.
Hey, Benoit.
Benoît?
Yes, sir?
Ah, c'est Benoît? Mais non, c'est Benoît.
Do you know what this white powder...
No,
Ah,
sir?
ouais, non, il avait déjà... En fait, faut juste... tout le reste, j'en avais déjà parlé.
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Does this fall?
No, do we have to...
No, we don't. Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
The nurse was stunningly beautiful. The guys on this ward sure were lucky to be in her care.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
What's his problem?
He's delirious. He just now came out of theater. He's recovering from major surgery.
I'll have him up and about before you can say, Lazarus, get out of your bed and walk. Hi, it's me again. See you later.
Mais moi, du coup, je voulais lui parler à elle, pas... On peut pas?
Doctor?
What is it now, nurse?
Number 2 again. He won't tell me what he wants. He says he'll only talk to a man.
Do I have to? That guy's nuts.
Doctor, I'm surprised at you. There's no way to talk about our clients.
Okay, I'll see him. But I'm telling you, he's a hypochondriac. Hello again.
Ah oui, d'accord. En fait, c'est...
Well, goodbye.
Thanks, Doc.
Je vais aller la voir une dernière fois, mais je pense qu'elle les dirige systématiquement vers les 2 patients. Donc, c'est pas la peine. Ouais. Ah si, quand même, on peut lui... Ah, bah voilà.
Is this plaster any use to you?
No, it isn't.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
It's beautiful, but I've never seen it before.
Do you know Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No, I don't.
Does this mean anything to you?
The Club Alamut? I've never heard of it.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
I don't recognize it.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Oh dear. I don't think he'll be needing that again.
Who?
Monsieur Boissy, the comatose clown.
Do you recognize this tissue?
No, I don't. It looks like a chronic health risk to me.
Well, I've been carrying it around for days and I'm okay. My pocket's getting a little soggy. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I don't.
Would you like to shake hands with me?
Well...
No, it's okay. Forget it. I didn't really want to use it on her anyway. Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
Why is Marquet in quarantine?
If you wish to know more, you'll have to speak to Herr Hagenmeier. All I know is that Marquet's room is strictly out of bounds.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Non, c'est pareil, respectueux.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Thank you, nurse.
Bon,
Au
maintenant,
revoir,
il faut que j'aille
monsieur.
voir Marquet. Je vais... Alors, je crois qu'il faut que je parle à... Ouais, Benoît.
Hey,
C'est dingue,
Benoît.
ça. Il me semblait que la première fois qu'on le rencontrait, là, c'était Benoît.
Yes,
Hein.
sir.
Et puis, ça son Benoît, c'est pas un... Enfin... Bref, on peut pas lui donner le stéthoscope? Ah non, je lui ai déjà donné.
Forget it.
Attends, je sais plus, du coup. Je sais qu'il faut que je le...
Hi, it's me again.
que je fasse une distraction, mais je sais plus comment.
See you later.
C'est peut-être lui, alors, du coup. Faut qu'il utilise son stéthoscope, pardon.
Hello again.
Mince, il n'y a pas l'icône. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ce délire?
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Si je vais direct à droite, peut-être. Ah, mais il va me suivre.
Doctor,
What is it?
you haven't taken my blood
Ah
pressure.
bah voilà. Parfait.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
Oh, doctor,
What now?
you didn't finish taking my blood pressure.
Ouais, il va être relou comme ça. En fait, c'est maintenant qu'il faut que je parle à Benoît. Allez.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners.
Ok, maintenant je vais le parler à lui.
Hey, Benoit.
Je pense que là, ça sera bon.
Yes, sir.
Ah, voilà.
Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Nurse Grendel.
Huh?
Go on, she'll enjoy it.
Well, okay.
Je peux vraiment faire ça? C'est abusé.
Dr. Stobar,
Yeah?
I would appreciate it if you saved your jokes for the intern's restroom. This is a hospital ward, not a
Le moulin
cabaret.
rouge.
Oh, lighten up.
I heard that. Any more nonsense and I shall report you to Dr. Hagenmeier.
C'est bon. Attends, du coup, j'imagine
Hey,
que
Benoit.
on peut lui proposer de prendre l'attention de n'importe lequel des deux autres.
Yes, sir.
Do you still have that gauge?
Ah, yes.
Alors, du coup, lui, il voulait qu'on lui prenne
Use it
cette
on
attention.
Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
Maintenant, je peux essayer d'aller à droite.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated.
Rather you than me, pal.
Ah mince, j'ai loupé. Attends. Ah, je peux pas revenir en arrière? Non! Parce que du coup, j'ai pas parlé aux gardes. Ah, je suis dégoûté.
Marquet's slim hold on life was being measured, monitored, and maintained by the machinery on the rack. Another graph, another life. On the top of the chart was his name, Jacques Marquet. I didn't need to be a doctor to read the graphs. Marquet was dying. The bottles were full of liquid, with a little trail of bubbles rising to the surface. I figured Marquet's life depended on those bottles, so I decided not to disturb them. Marquet was either peacefully sleeping or placidly dead. Rousing him in the latter case would take a miracle. Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lochmarne gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassins.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grandmaster quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
You have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
He's more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he is gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of the...
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. Herr Hagenmeyer was to hear that.
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Alors mince, alors du coup j'ai pas eu la description de la machine et j'ai pas parlé aux gardes. Bon, dommage. Après c'était pas forcément...
There you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Parfait. Merci.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Ah oui, sauf que le docteur, c'est pas le docteur en fait.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Ouais.
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter. The door's locked. Help me,
Ah,
officer.
Trop tard. Putain, pourtant il avait pas l'air suspect. Le
Stand
docteur en
back,
question.
monsieur.
Ah la vache, ça fait bien mal aux oreilles
I
alors.
found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window. Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have. The guy responsible for their downfall was Philippe IV, the King of France, otherwise known as Philippe le Bel.
I've heard of him.
Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair, but I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
Ouais, donc quoi qu'il arrive, il faudra retourner voir André.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. Have you ever heard of the Hashi-Ashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again.
Moi, je les connais, les Hachachines.
Can you think of any use for this?
That's a thing for measuring blood pressure, isn't it? What are you doing with that?
I picked it up in the hospital. It could be useful.
You ought to take it back. Don't you feel guilty?
No.
Non, non, j'ai toujours 40 000 objets dans ma poche.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. That's the gem that Peagram...
Bon, rien de nouveau de ce côté-là, donc du coup, faut que je retourne au musée Crune.
I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one?
Weirdo.
Rousseau or Sergeant Mou? Oh, but you're referring to André.
Exactly.
I'll let you work it out.
Donc on va retourner voir le binôme, mais bon, je vais à l'entrée du musée et je m'arrête là pour cette fois-ci. Ça aurait été quand même un peu plus de 2 heures, je crois. Donc c'est déjà pas mal. Musée, et puis après j'imagine que ça sera mon faucon. Ou mon façon, comme ils disent en VO. Voilà. Bon. Du coup, je m'arrête là. Je vous souhaite une bonne fin de journée, bonne fin de week-end. Et je streamerai, dans la semaine, je pense, les Chevaliers de Baphomet. Voilà, petite sauvegarde. Voilà, donc je streamerai, ouais, je pense dans la semaine, une fois peut-être, ou au pire le week-end, je verrai. Voilà, voilà. Bonne fin de journée et à bientôt. Salut!